All right, I think we're going to start, and yeah, it's great to see all the guests at this webinar today. We just released this RFP, so all of you are very much overachievers, getting on this right away. Given it's not due till June, but we love to see that enthusiasm and love to see the proposals that are going to come in for this competition. My name is Ben Schelk. I'm with the Ocean Foundation, and today we're going to talk a little bit about this new RFP centered around regenerative tourism in partnership with the U.S. Department of State, NOAA, and the Local2030 Islands Network. Next slide. Just a brief overview of what we're going to cover today. What is this program? What is regenerative tourism? Provide some details on the grant itself, the application procedure, the various tracks for which you can apply, and answer any questions at the end. Next slide. Just for a quick background, we'll get into details shortly, but just so you know, the Ocean Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Washington, D.C. We are a community foundation and work with donors, governments, corporations all around the world to advance projects that actively regenerate ocean health and support local economies. We're the only community foundation in the world, and for that reason, we really see all the different networks and the projects that we're part of as something that can be catalytic, can lead to greater outcomes for ocean health and all those that depend upon it. Next slide. As I mentioned, we are a global organization working in over 40 different countries and on every continent, even Antarctica. We have a project over there, and really, kind of sticking on the front lines of the issues that are emerging around ocean health and supporting local economies and regenerative tourism, which has been very much a topic, gaining increasing interest as folks are looking to address climate change, but also support sustainable blue economies. And now to the good stuff, the grant opportunity itself. As I mentioned, we are working with NOAA, the State Department, as well as Local 2030 to release this RFP to hopefully catalyze some new ideas and kind of advance this field with the goal to continue this grant program in the future. So we are intending to have a second track at some point, or a second competition, but this is the inaugural RFP, and we're very much interested in what we're going to hear from all of you prospective applicants. So Gabrielle, you want to take it away?
Actually, we'll have Diane do the next couple slides because these came from her. So Diane, we'll pass it over to you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Thank you, Ben. Regenerative tourism. Well, regenerative tourism is considered to be the next step in sustainable tourism, especially given the rapid changing climate and cascading effects of that. So sustainable tourism, it was actually a focus on minimising the negative impacts of tourism. But instead, what we're trying to do with regenerative tourism is ask that question: how might tourism regenerate people, communities, nature, and contribute to island resilience? So it goes further than just how can we reduce our impact, but how can we actually make sure that tourism is giving back and creating a better place and outcomes for people. So next slide, please. So the characteristics of regenerative tourism, as I said, go more than just to sustainable tourism. Regenerative tourism restores and tries to rebalance and regenerate our social, ecological, and economic systems. So it takes into account all of those effects of tourism on people and place. It takes effect on food systems, on water, housing. So it really is intending to be a much more integrated way of delivering the benefits of tourism back to local communities. It adopts, one of the key things is that it actually adopts a living systems approach, an ecological approach where everything is connected. And I think you'll see that in the request for proposals on page 3, where we're actually talking about those program tracks. It delivers systemic positive impact, so not just reducing the negative impacts of tourism per se, but across the system. And it's co-designed and locally led, really important, because that local knowledge and lived experience and what islanders know about their environments and their communities really has to be part of the way that regenerative tourism is delivered. And finally, it embeds a really important opportunity to learn and to adapt and to evolve. Rather than having those top-down solutions, regenerative tourism really tries to address those solutions from the bottom up. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Diane, for that introduction. As you can see, we have a pretty extensive team all over the globe. And so we're very excited to work across the globe on this project as well. So the QR code there is a link to the RFP if you haven't been in there yet. Just as a reminder, the proposals will be due the end of June. We're supporting 12-month projects at a max, and the award amount will be somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000. There's a list of eligibility requirements, including the countries that we're able to support under this funding. So please be sure to refer to that and reach out to us if you have any questions. In addition, in the RFP, it has a Google form and some templates to utilize to make the submission process much easier. And again, if you have any issues with those items, let us know. We're happy to help you work through that. We know Google Forms can be a little funky sometimes. And then our team will get together and do proposal evaluations over a 6-week period and provide award notifications on August 15th. So I'm just going to go through on the next slide, the program tracks. So we decided to give folks a little bit of a foundation as to what sort of projects we're looking to support. And within the RFP, there is some description of each of these, and we will also be providing in future sessions, maybe some case studies and other examples if you're not quite sure what regenerative tourism really is and how your project might fit into it. But this is just to give you kind of an idea of what we're looking to support. So the idea of providing the concept of sustainable and regenerative tourism. It might not be something that's familiar in the community or with the industry stakeholders you work with. And so we're providing an opportunity to kind of do that foundational groundwork. We're also looking at regenerative tourism and food systems. So permaculture, looking at ways to support food security, promoting cultural food practices, designing food waste reduction practices, et cetera. So there's a whole array of things that kind of fit into this. The third track is related to regenerative tourism and seafood. So this could also include production of food, capture and traceability, aquaculture operations, fisheries related to the tourism industry as well. It could connect to cultural aspects also, which are also identified in number 5. Number 4 is regenerative tourism and nature-based climate solutions. And this could include blue carbon. Mangrove ecosystems are something that are very important in many of the island nations we work with around the globe. And blue carbon is highly identified as one of those important ecosystems to provide that. But any way that this could provide improving the integrity of these ecosystems, enhancing conservation, as well as supporting blue carbon efforts. The 5th one is focused around culture and heritage. We think this is really important. A lot of the countries we're working with, our culture and heritage are integrated into the livelihoods, the lifestyle, the tourism industry, and the economies. And so we want to provide an opportunity to continue to support these and connect these to tourism opportunities as well. So this includes using the knowledge systems of the indigenous peoples, aligning tourism approaches with existing cultural and traditional views of guardianship and protection of places. So there's a lot of opportunities here as well for looking at that stewardship. And then the last one is looking to engage with youth, women, or other underrepresented groups. There's a lot of movement in these areas to help bring the communities together and provide some opportunities for these different groups to be further involved and share their knowledge and expertise. And so we're also looking to help promote, plan, implement regenerative tourism through these various groups. So that just gives you an idea of some of the kinds of projects. We'll share more details on these with further case studies in the future, but we just kind of wanted to give you a rundown of each of these. And, please do reach out if you're not sure the project you're thinking of, how it might fit into these. I think if it crosses over between more than one, that's all right as well. But we do want to try and have folks try to pick one of these areas that best fits their thematic. And then the next slide. is going to go through our next steps. So we're going to have a proposal prep session coming up in March. And this will actually be a 90-minute session where we'll go through an interactive way to work on your proposals, give you some pointers and tips, and answer some questions. We might do some breakout groups. It just depends on the number of folks we have. But this is an opportunity to sort of work through the process of how to develop a proposal and really, send your message home to us. So when we review these, we know where you're headed and we can see the impact that you're shooting for. We will also be providing a support session at the in-person community of practice meeting. So this project has a community practice associated with it. And this is focused on bringing people together from the various countries that are involved in the community practice. At the moment, you don't have to be a member of the community practice to engage in the RFP, but eventually, we're trying to promote the community and build out that group as well. There's a link there that you can go and look at that in-person meeting that will occur in April. I think it's the 23rd and 24th in Honolulu, and we'll announce the specific session when we get more details on it. But it is meant to provide some more peer-to-peer interaction and feedback as you're starting to develop the proposals coming into April. And then that gives you a little bit of time after that to continue to work on it. We also are looking at potential office hours sessions periodically to do question and answer periods. We don't have those quite figured out yet, but we will post those on the Ocean Foundation website when we have that figured out and scheduled so that you'll know when you can reach out to us. But as always, you can reach out to Courtney. Her email is there. So she's at the Ocean Foundation and been providing a lot of support from their team on this. And so please feel free to reach out to her. And then if it needs to be directed to Diane or myself, we're happy to help field those as well. All right, so I will pause there and see if there's any questions for us.
I'm wondering if the sessions, particularly the one on the 12th, will be recorded. I'm not going to be able to attend that one, as I'm the one that's probably going to be preparing the proposal. I kind of am worried about missing some important information.
Yes, we will record that. And I think depending on the number of folks we get interested, we may provide another session at a different time zone. Time zones are always challenging, right, when you're working globally.
Yeah.
So this is kind of our starter session.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But
I'm available mostly for the month of March. We've got a trip booked that has been booked.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not available for most of the month. But if it's recorded, then that would be good. Could certainly work with that.
Yeah, I think we'll record it, and then we'll also share any PowerPoints, worksheets, templates, anything that we put together for that session. We'll also share those as well.
Perfect.
Great. But you're always welcome to reach out to us if we can help you in the meantime.
Okay, thanks. I'm sure I will have a question or two.
Okay, perfect. I think there was a message in the chat, but I can't seem to access it for some reason.
I'll just jump in there. The question is, how will the in-person session work for other countries? So the in-person session is the Local 2030 Communities of Practice sessions that we're holding in Hawaii. And there will be a session, a purpose-built session around how to write your grants within that. What we're planning also to do, so the Local 2030 Islands Network will also be running a Q1 or a quarterly seminar, and that will be on the 7th of March. We haven't quite got that invitation out, but we will be actually repeating it there. So it will be online slightly before the in-person session, and we will communicate that to everybody. Within the next few days, actually, that invitation will go out.
Thank you.
Richard, go ahead.
Hi, kia ora, buhay. I just have a question about the eligible activities. You mentioned earlier that for the program tracks, it's possible to have, for example, a project to intersect between two thematic areas. Is it also possible to have multiple activities within the project? You have listed several bullet points in the eligible activities, for example, needs assessment and stakeholder engagements and so on. So yeah, my question is, can we combine, for example, a needs assessment and gap analysis plus a stakeholder engagement in one project?
Absolutely. If your budget can can do it, well, obviously we'll support that. But we were trying to just be realistic in terms of the budget that was provided. Of course, yeah. If you outline it and how you're thinking of doing it, and then can provide a budget that fits within the range we gave, the 5 to 15,000, that would, of course.
So thanks, Gabriel. Sorry, I have a follow-up question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. So for regarding the output, of course, it depends on the project. So you're mainly looking for different kinds of outputs, such as, let's say, if we do a needs analysis, a gap analysis, it could be a report or a plan, tourism plan that could be implemented in the future. Or if, let's say, we're doing a workshop, we will conduct the workshop itself, and then like a supplementary report about the outcomes from participants, something like that?
Yeah, both of those that you describe are pretty much in the realm we'd be looking for. I think once, you know, folks develop their project and they're accepted, we'll work with you to kind of build those out a little bit more, to give you sort of a better idea of what kind of information we would need to satisfy the grant requirements. Ben or Courtney, did you have anything more you wanted to add on that?
Gabriel, I'll just add.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
Andrea,
all
go ahead.
good. I'll just add, thinking about outputs, I think generally across all types of projects, the sort of opportunity is called catalytic grants, because I think we're trying to think of how these projects can be models or sort of things to look at as far as transferability and applicability elsewhere in other islands, and very much what is catalytic about that. So like a report is great, and I think findings are great, but thinking about how you make those catalytic connections and how this goes beyond just implementing a project, I think will make a really strong proposal.
Thanks, Drea. Thank you.
I see another hand, but can't see the name next to it, but go ahead.
That must have been just Richard putting his hand down.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
in the process of doing so.
It was a blank head. That's all I could see. An icon. Okay. Any other questions? I don't see anything else in the chat from other folks. All right, Ben and Courtney, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so that's the end. I know this was quick and easy. Of course, we're standing by to answer questions. I think these future sessions will be great opportunities to kind of dive deeper, you know, maybe kind of feel out some proposal ideas. I think we certainly welcome that. You know, this concept of regenerative tourism is fairly new to a lot of folks. So, you know, if you want to just kind of do some acid tests with us as far as whether this is even feasible or whether this fits, you know, we're always standing by to address those questions. And I also want to just acknowledge, you know, due to the funding that's providing the funding for this grant opportunity, we are limited to the countries of which we can support. You know, this is not something that's intentional or malicious. You know, of course, we work with a lot of different projects within U.S. islands, for instance, but due to the source of funding, only the countries listed within the RFP are eligible at this time. But we are continuing to explore other options to kind of expand the scope, the range, you know, and potentially open it up to additional applicants in the future. And I don't think if there are no other questions, we could probably wrap up, but, you know, we're happy to take this time to if you guys want to spitball some ideas or however you'd like to use the rest of this time.
There was a question in the chat about supporting research. And I think it depends on the kind of research. I don't know that we really are looking for something that is leaning towards an implementation type of activity. Needs assessment and gaps analysis obviously are foundational for some of this work. So it sort of depends on the kind of research you're thinking. If you want to come off mute and share more specifically, I think we could talk about it a little more.
Hi, sorry, I'm Tyson Lopez.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do have a question. I know we don't fall in the list of eligible islands to participate within this grant. However, the reason I'm joining is because a lot of the time islands such as ours from Aruba is left behind for technical assistance. So for example, we can afford projects like these, but for us, it's more the learning process of the technical assistance that is being given through a project like this. So I don't know if it's something that is open still, that we can pitch in a project or facilitate this, and just we cover the part that is the funding part. Because as mentioned, that regenerative tourism is something new, and we have to somehow collaborate on this. Thanks.
Well, yeah. So if I understand correctly, you're essentially proposing to give us money to give out to applicants that aren't on the list, right? Yeah.
No, I'm actually.
Did I misinterpret that?
I am not. No, the thing is, a lot of time, whenever we're working, and especially because we are considered as islands that have enough resources, we're not eligible, and hence it automatically rules us out from any technical support in capacity development and so on. So just to take that in consideration when creating something like this, that some of us can afford it. We don't need the grant, that is true, but we need the capacity and the knowledge that's being shared.
Yeah, I guess yeah, and I totally agree. And, you know, it is really unfortunate the limited number of countries we can support through this specific opportunity. But, you know, the Local 2030 Islands Network generally is a great source for this kind of technical assistance and support. You know, the whole idea behind these communities of practice are just that, you know, to provide access to that kind of information and training for islands throughout the world, not just the islands on this list for the RFP. So I don't know if any folks from Local 2030 want to speak to that, you know, perhaps provide some additional guidance, you know, on membership and other ways you can engage the network.
I'm happy to jump in there, Ben. Thank you. Hi, Tyson. We met last year at the in-person event, and you raise a really good point there as well. I suggest that you make sure if you receive a meeting or any of your team receive an invitation for the Q1, you can spread that across your group and make sure that as many people are able to attend the the virtual meeting. So the virtual meeting will be on, I think it's the 6th of March. You'll be receiving, because you're on the mailing list, you'll be receiving an invitation shortly. But that meeting will actually also support the development of these grant applications by really thinking about how to frame your goals and objectives, and to really think through the framing in a regenerative sense. And regeneration is different to sustainable tourism. So I think it's really important to lean into some of the resources that the Local 2030 do offer in that respect. Yeah.
Thank you.
And can I just say, for anybody who is not on the mailing list, I'm happy if you want to email me. I'll put my email in the chat. I'll be happy to add you to the mailing list.
We did have a few questions come into the chat. So one of them is, can we discuss possible scaling up strategies that can be covered by the grant?
That's hard to answer completely, but of course, if there was already a project that was ongoing, but that was only happening on a smaller scale and you wanted to sort of scale it out to other organizations or other locations, that could be an example. Thinking of like outreach activities, there might be a small outreach activity that's already happening that could then be scaled out for greater impact. Or having it be taken on by a larger entity. I know there was a project I worked on that went from being a school level project to then going out to the cruise ship industry. Actually, I hate using the cruise ship industry as an example, but it was a very good possibility for outreach, where they were able to kind of do these outreach engagement programs. And so it's got scaled up that way. And that was done under a small funding opportunity. So yeah, I think scaling up activities are a possibility. The idea though, as Andrea mentioned earlier, is, really showing sort of that innovative side of it. We really are looking for things that are innovative and sort of, flame new ideas throughout the network. And then for Stefano and Fiji, regarding the research question, again, I think, research is important in understanding the situation as long as there is sort of that connection to an implementation and innovative movement forward. You asked about funding beyond year one. These are 1-year projects right now. We do expect to have a possibility of a second year of funding, but at the moment we really are focused on this first round for now. But wherever we can help, if there are opportunities in other places, we would be happy to share those as well, to do what we can to support folks continuing the efforts. I think, was that all the chat questions? Did I get them all?
Yeah, and just to echo Gabrielle's statement, one of the goals of this competition is to be catalytic, right? And to kind of position our applicants and eventually our grantees to pursue larger amounts of money from different sources. So we really want to support you, not just in the proposal process, but all throughout implementation to really, help ensure that you have the tools and resources necessary to kind of move on to the next phase, whether it be with us or another grant opportunity that could allow you to scale up those activities in the future.
And I'll just add that, echoing Diane's point, the virtual communities of practice of the tourism group are a really great place to source some inspiration for some of these emerging and sort of innovative approaches in tourism. So looking to where folks are already kind of gathering and the kinds of approaches people are talking about, I think will be really helpful as you're thinking about this proposal process.
Great. Well, we're at time. So thank you all for joining. And we will be hosting another session in about a month as listed on both the RFP and in this PowerPoint. This info session has been recorded and it will be posted on the Ocean Foundation's website for reference, along with the slides that we showed today. So thank you all.
Thank you. Best of luck to everyone.
Thank you all.